I'm Trish Crampton. I had a vaginal birth after a caesarean section with twin boys that were born at 30 weeks. So I fell pregnant 5 years after the boys were born, and they were born at 30 weeks with an emergency Caesar, and I was really keen to have a vaginal birth with my next baby. I went back to the same doctor that I'd had with the twins, and he was very adamant that I should have another Caesar. I'd already had one, and that was safer for me and safer for the child to go down that track. I wasn't comfortable with that. I didn't feel that was had to be the way. I did some research and spoke to a friend that was a midwife, and she actually had a pamphlet that I took back and spoke to him further about it. I had a very good scar, and that I'd like to try for a vaginal birth, and then if the emergency came into it, then if it needed to be, then that was okay, but I'd like to definitely try. So he agreed to that, but it was a lot of negotiating, a lot of pushing on my behalf. He certainly didn't want to go down that track, and made it known. My friend that is a midwife that I spoke to about it, she had another friend that was studying midwifery, and she needed to do some follow-ups through a pregnancy, so she came with me, which was a really good experience. So she came with me to the obstetrician appointments and met the doctor, and said that she would be at the birth, if she was able to. He was very informative with her, so he would talk through the ultrasound and explain things to her. I think she had a good experience with him. The doctor was good with explaining things to me as well. I found him with the last pregnancy and birth to be informative. He likes you to know, and he's very upfront with everything. So he would talk through the pros and cons, or he'd say why he was doing things and what he was doing every step of the way always, which was great. Another thing the doctor did bring up, that he would not let me go over term. So he gave us specified times. I think I was allowed to be 5 days overdue, and after that it was to be a Caesar, not even to be induced. He was very keen for a Caesar at that stage. So I felt like I had to negotiate with him quite often through the pregnancy, and then again through the birth. There was, I felt like there was some give and take always. Okay, so you're allowed to do this, but at that point then you're not allowed to. But which it's probably just a personality thing with him. But that was okay. It was a very normal pregnancy, so I got to full term, and then I was a little bit overdue. So I was like 2 days overdue. Thought I was going into labour, or did go into labour, but it didn't eventuate. And then I was to see him again. I asked for a stretch and sweep, and he would not do that. He said he doesn't do that, and was very black and white about it, that was a no and not to be discussed, and he wouldn't negotiate on that. From that stage, I had a stretch and sweep from my midwife friend, because he wouldn't. I didn't discuss that with him. I didn't tell him that's what I was doing. I had that done one evening, and then that night I went into labour. I stayed at home as long as I could, and then my children were in the house, and I just wanted to get out of the house. I suspected I wasn't going to, go into having the baby very quickly, but I wanted to get to the hospital, so we did. Got to the hospital, and I hadn't dilated, and the doctor came and he broke my waters, and so it was in the morning, and he said that he would give me till midday. If I wasn't 10 centimetres dilated at midday, I was having a caesarean. So again, he was very black and white. That was the terms of the agreement. So I had to midday to be 10 centimetres dilated, and he wasn't going to come back before, and it was very cut and dry, and it was like it was an agreement, but I didn't really have any say in the matter at all. It was, if I wasn't, I was having a Caesar. That was that was his decision, and I didn't feel like I had any say in it. And you can't really force your body to become 10 centimeters dilated. It was out of my control, but I got there. So when I got to the hospital, my friend that was a midwife came with me just as a support person, not as a professional midwife. Another midwife from the hospital arrived and spoke, but my friend set up put on a belt to monitor the heartbeat and all that. So she knew that we were coping very well on our own, and she left us pretty much for the day. I just progressed through the labour quite well and quite quickly from that stage when he broke my waters. The midwife that was studying to be a midwife came as well. So it was really nice having familiar faces and people that I knew well, my husband knew well, in the room. I knew the doctor wasn't coming back till midday, which very much suited me, so I could just try and do the best to get to that stage that for when he came back I could go with a natural birth. And it was it was hard work, it was labour, but it was very comfortable. I felt very comfortable in my surroundings and with the people around me. My husband was there the whole time as well, and it was sort of like a team effort. We were all working together for this, and it was, my husband's quite competitive, so it was sort of like, we're racing against the clock, and we're getting there, and it's we can do this together. It was quite a team effort. I felt I wasn't on my own battling on. It was and definitely having the people that I knew and loved around me was really good. I think that helped the labour progress. So pretty much 12 o'clock on the dot, the doctor arrived and, sort of put the gloves on and was gowned up and all that, and then examined me, and he was really surprised. He said, well, you're 10 centimetres, you've got what you wanted, sort of thing. We're ready to go. We'll, try for the vaginal birth. We don't have to have the Caesar. So it all went normally. It was very, quick and easy for most of it. I did feel it definitely changed. The air changed with, just the midwives and to, friends, to then him arriving, and he was in control. He was taking over. It was okay, all systems on now. And towards the end, the little baby girl, he used the ventouse and vacuumed her out, which may or may not have been necessary, probably not, but that was just how it was. The doctor was good with the student midwife, my friend. He did speak to her and had her involved with the delivery, which was good. And then he did an episiotomy as well, which was probably not necessary, but again, didn't discuss it with me. It was just, this is what's happening. And but the doctor was very chuffed when she was born, and he was, it was very much, well, that was what you wanted, and it's been a really good result. And he seemed quite pleased with himself as well. And so she came straight on to me, and she was, big, healthy baby compared to the 30-week-old twins, and, screaming lungs and, very fat and healthy. So that was all really lovely. Her husband burst into tears, but the doctor was quite softened by it. He's got 5 children himself, and you could see he was quite emotional about it as well, which was nice to see that other side of him that wasn't the, cut and dry, you must have the cesarean. So, yeah, it was a good ending. So when I did, the baby was on me and it was all over, I couldn't believe, there was so much pain and then just no pain, and just so elated, and, just felt like I was on an absolute high. My husband was crying. We were all crying, and it was, such a great feeling. I felt really, so I held her, and then, straight away I went to breastfeeding. The midwife that was, a student, she gave the vitamin K needle, and that was the first baby that she'd ever given the needle to, and that was so it was all exciting for her too. It was, you know, it was a lot of firsts for all of us, so it was exciting. Yeah, it all went well. So then the breastfeeding from there just went very well. She knew what to do, and there was no problems at all with latching on. Everything was very easy with breastfeeding, so that was good. When I had Annabelle, it was just so easy, and it just felt so right. So, you know, I spent a lot of time just holding her and looking at her and really enjoying the moment and thinking, you know, this is how it should be. You know, I was in hospital for, you know, the 2 days, I think, and then just came home, and I was felt, you know, with the cesarean before, you know, the recovery and the pain, you know, felt that dragging, pulling feeling for a long time, and but, you know, felt nothing with I was very swollen with having Annabelle, but, you know, I was very, you know, felt fit and healthy, and so many happy drugs sort of in me, natural. I was on a real natural high for a long time.